Hashem Elokeichem chaim kulchem hayom. Those of you who cleave unto Hashem are called alive. B'chaim lechem bracha. By divine providence, by Hashgacha Pratit, when Rabbi Danny over here called me to have a Farbrengen, we were thinking about which day to do it, and it occurred to do it on a Wednesday. And when we set this up, by Hashgacha Pratit, it came out that this Farbrengen is taking place on the tail end of the 13th of Tammuz, which is today. And I'm not sure if you heard, but in the Jewish calendar, the 12th and the 13th of Tammuz are absolutely foundational to our generation. I would venture to say that had it not been for the 12th or the 13th of Tammuz, we might have not been here right now. I'm not saying that for bringing the setting. I'm saying the vibrancy of Am Yisrael as it's progressing and going and growing and developing and progressing, despite all challenges, despite all difficulties that we are experiencing, was given to us as a gift, Milamayla from Hashem. And this really began on the 12th of Tammuz, 1927. We know when communism took hold of Russia, it took 10 years for communism to develop and sink its claws into Russia. Red October, when the Bolshevik Revolution happened in 1917, was thought largely by most leadership in Russia to be a fluke. A fluke, a phase. A phase. The protesters were very violent. Generally speaking, and especially back then, Russians, pure Russians I'm talking about, have no value of the sanctity of life. Stalin often said, you get rid of the person, you get rid of the problem. So when the protesters took to the streets, overthrew the Tsar, etc., most leadership, Jews and Havdalah non-Jews, immediately capitulated with one particular thought in mind. This is going to pass. What is it going to be, a year, 2 years, 3 years? Why get in their way and face their wrath as they're able to murder on a whim? It's going to pass, it's going to come down, things are going to go back to normal. This communism went unabated for 10 years. By the time it spread throughout all of Russia, Russia is 3 times the landmass of America. So by the time it made it from one end to the other, it sunk, its communism and communist leadership sunk its claws deep inside all of society. Mind you, and this is not Chaz v'Shalom to scare, but anyone who has any inkling of to what Russia and communism looks like knows that what's happening here in America is not that far off. The cancel culture began in Russia. Get rid of the person, get rid of the problem. The overthrow the imperialists, overthrowing God and anything that has any sanctity to it. What does the word kadosh, holy, mean? Set aside. It's pure. Different. It's unique. It's pure. It's set aside. It's not of this world. And according to the socialists and the communists, everyone must be equal. And when there is no God, there's no hierarchy either. Who determines ups and downs? Who determines sides to the other side? Is God. In communist Russia, the government were your parents. Mama Russia, Father Stalin. Literally, that's how it was.
How long ago?
Mama, the mother Russia, Father Stalin. These were your parents. And that wasn't a joke. The state took responsibility, charge for the education of the kids. If the parents got involved, if the parents wanted to teach something else, the children would be promptly removed from the house. The parents could be sent to Siberia or shot altogether. We're seeing a lot of this happening here. However, there's one caveat here that Russia didn't have. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Osher Kravitsky, which today marks the anniversary which he was released from the communist prisons, where he was supposed to be executed. It happened to be on the day of his birthday, Mazalo Gover. The previous Rebbe had 4 stages of his leadership. The first of which was in Russia, the first 2 were in Russia, then Riga, etc. But the 4th was here in America. And the previous Rebbe said that out of all the time periods and all the countries and the places where he was, the hardest exile was the exile of America. What's so difficult about America? Because there is the culture of comfort. And in comfort, anything good, any success in any field of life goes to comfort to die. The minute something becomes comfortable is the second that growth stops. Here in America, we are taught in a culture that you should be comfortable. Live comfortably. Whatever that comfort is, you should live it. It should be it. The American dream, after all, was living in a nice, posh, suburban home, 2 cars, vacations, a kid and a half, a dog, a puppy, whatever it is. That's comfort. That's your aim. That's what you should strive for. You should sell your soul for this. Ever thought about it? This is really happening in front of us. You think a child is born, most parents, American parents, immediately upon, and I've seen this with my own eyes in Manhattan, not so much here, because, Persians are a little late. We're in the Middle Eastern, we are, like Russians, Israelis, we always come the last. But in America, they're very prompt. As soon as a child is born, they already seek out what is the best preschool for my child. Why? Does he have to get to the best preschool? So he can get to the best elementary school. Why? So he can get to the best high school. Why? So he can get to the best college. Why? So he can get to the best postgraduate. Why? So he can get a good career. Why? So he could be able to have the opportunity to climb from the mailroom all the way to the top.
It's climbing down.
But in reality, it's not so much climbing down as much as what's your trajectory? What are you looking for? There's a book years ago, I read it in 1994, when I was in public school, that was mandatory reading. It was called Alice in Wonderland. When Alice comes into Wonderland and she's bewildered, she's beside herself, she has no idea what's happening. She comes to a fork in the road, and she's taken aback. Where do I go next, right or left? And in that moment, this cat, the Cheshire cat, reveals himself to Alice, and I'm paraphrasing at this point because it's 1994 when I read it. Says, Alice, what's your dilemma? She says, I'm not sure. Should I take the right side or the left side? And he asks her a very telling question. Well, what's your destination? Where are you going? She says, I'm not sure. She says, if you're not sure, if you don't have a destination, then what's the difference, right or left? What's the difference if you go this way or this way? Right or left is in proximity to our destination. Otherwise, right or left is all arbitrary. A journey must have a destination. Without a destination, it's not a journey, it's aimless. It's not so much that it's climbing downwards as much as what is the goal here? What's the purpose? All right, so you get the best career. You get for what? Why? Why do you need it? Our Rebbe said many times that in our generation we deserve and we should be blessed with tremendous affluence, material wealth. But the Rebbe explained in the same sentence that affluence and wealth shouldn't be determined by what your neighbors are looking at you. I have to dress like this, I have to drive like this, I have to go to this vacation, I have to send my kids to this school, because that's what the neighbors are going to look at and they're going to say, he made it. If you need wealth to serve God, then you must have it. Then you must have it. Because there's a goal. Otherwise, wealth in itself could be a great deterrent to life. In a monumental Farbrengen in 1956, a Purim Farbrengen, the Rebbe explained a very, very foundational concept to wealth management, which is much like clothing, wealth must fit the person who's wearing it. Clothing could be made from the best material. It could be made from the finest wool, Egyptian wool or silk or whatever it is, but it must fit the wearer. If the sleeves exceed the hands of the wearer or the pants exceed the length of the legs, not only having more is not beneficial, it actually becomes an impediment. You can't grab, you can't walk, you're going to stumble very quickly. So too with wealth. Wealth, the Rebbe said, is the test of being rich and wealthy is harder than the test of being poor. You guys are too young. Anybody here above 40?
No.
Okay. So you do remember that. I'm not going to quote the artist over here, but I was old enough to I'm old enough to remember the song "More Money, More Problems." Right.
No money, no honey.
And that's the thing. And that's what's the honey over here? What is the in other words, yeah, there is honey. There is that trajectory where we want. But what is it? What is it?
Rabbi, I'm sorry, but in a lot of countries where you don't have the strive to get rich and to be wealthy and to be comfortable, at the end they live in poverty and they're suffering. And that's exactly what the American people don't want, which is why they strive not to be rich so much as to show off. Many people do that to show off, but many people just don't want to suffer because being poor is probably one of the worst things that...
You're 100% right, Jordan. You're 100% right. We're not discounting wealth. The only question is why.
But I think we misconstrue suffering as we not having what the neighbor has as suffering.
Exactly. That's the question. If it's to what's that called, keeping up with the Joneses, then that's not a trajectory. Because you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be satisfied. I could tell you one of the most shocking observations I had when I first came to Great Neck 16 years ago. And mind you, I grew up with poverty. We had nothing. We had no food at times, no electricity at times. So I never got attached to materialism. But, there's always that thing, if we have, then that would be good. But then you come, and I've been in plenty of homes here, as I see many families and so on and so forth. And it's, while the facade, the physical structure is beautiful, magnificent, but inside it's empty. And when I asked a husband who's been working, who makes it, your family doesn't see you. You don't see your family. You haven't seen your children grow up. You're barely present in your own life. Why? He says, Rabbi, if I don't work this hard, and I remember the first time I came here was right around February, and I remember having my first class in his house, and I observed him, and I said, why, you're almost never home. He says, if I stop, and this guy's in his 60s, if I don't maintain this schedule, all of this falls apart. So I said, at what point do you actually live your life? At what point do you actually enjoy your life? So you start from preschool to this and this. Sometime, somewhere in 60s, 70s, I'll retire, I'll go to Florida. You know, there's an aphorism in Hasidic thought. A broken clock gets it right twice, but misses everything in between it. A broken clock gets it right twice. 2 major accomplishments a day. It's humongous. But in between that, it misses every other opportunity. Everything between that. While a working clock is living with the now, is constantly adjusting itself to what's happening right now. I have to live now. Because right now you're alive. Right now you're alive. And it's I had it for Farbrengen 2 weeks ago with a young man who found out that he needed to have a certain part of himself removed.
Can we take a pause? Everybody take one l'chaim. I don't see anybody. There's a lot of people not drinking.
Nobody should drink. You should drink l'chaim.
We have to finish 3 bottles.
We don't drink, we do l'chaim.
That's it.
No, there's a saying for that also.
You make a l'chaim.
We're not. Can you repeat it one?
We don't drink. We make a l'chaim.
No. 4.
4.
There was something more to it.
What?
We're not.
Are you going to your destination or something?
No, we're not drinking to get drunk. We're drinking to get to. Right, something.
Yeah.
Remember what
The destination.
How am I drinking?
Well.
So can you tell us the GPS so we can put it in? And
Yeah.
We're getting it dang.
Well, being that Rabbi Dani over here brought up the l'chaim. Being that Rabbi Dani brought up the l'chaim.
Let's do one l'chaim.
L'chaim. What's your Hebrew name?
Yaakov.
Yaakov ben your mom?
Ben Nahid.
Hashem should give you a bracha of tremendous success above your own imagination.
You only drink vodka.
Should be able to think, say, and do the right things with the right people at the right time in the right manner, and have tremendous success and utilize it correctly. This exile of comfort, this exile of luxury, unfortunately sometimes makes us forget the point of our life. Our sages give us a beautiful parable that the sun and the clouds have an argument amongst themselves. Who can make the Jew take off his hat and his jacket, etc., tzitzit, faster? So, of course, the cloud says, I'll go first. The sky becomes full of clouds, and all of a sudden it starts storming, and the wind starts gushing and pushing, and so on and so forth. It pushes, but the stronger the winds push, the stronger the Jew holds on, so nothing will fall off. The sun, after a while, says, listen, you had your shot, it's my turn. Move aside. And the clouds part, and another ray starts coming down to the earth, and all of a sudden it becomes warm and warmer and warmer. And after a while, the Jew says, it's too warm, so I've got to take this off. I've got to take all this off. This is too hot for me. When things are difficult, we hold on to truth. When things are easy, we forget that we're meant to hold on to truth. And the easiness is just a facilitator to get to a higher place. It's not an end unto itself. Having money is amazing. But for what? We don't care about the money. We don't care about the power or the honor. What we do care is what the money could accomplish. What honor could accomplish in the world. With the money, you could facilitate your family. You could send your children to yeshivot, your kosher food, and vacation with your family, gifts to your wife, supporting the community, supporting your family if they need. In other words, it's what the money brings. It's not an end to itself. If money becomes an end to itself, power becomes into materialism, becomes an end to itself, one forgets the entire purpose of life. And we know just like eating is not an end unto itself. In eating, we gain, on the most basic rudimentary level, we get energy. So we could be able to live. But if eating becomes its own thing, I like the way it tastes, and I don't care what's the ingredients, but it tastes good. And I don't care what it does to me, because it tastes good. Then that becomes toxic after a while. This is a question, where are you going? What's the purpose? The communists removed God, or attempted to remove God from the map. Because when there's no God, there's no hierarchy. There's no ups and there's no downs. Everybody's equal. Until they're not. Yud Beit and Yud Gimel Tammuz is the day that the previous Rebbe came out of in the incarceration where he was supposed to be executed for being a Rebbe, for being a Jew who is a proud Jew, while all other leaderships across Russia capitulated to communism. The previous Rebbe stood up valiantly with self-sacrifice, knowing what's at stake, and with him scores, thousands of Hasidim were charged with maintaining the flame of Judaism in Russia to the last drop of blood.
Mamash tonight?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is today.
Gimel Tammuz was also...
So Gimel Tammuz was where the previous Rebbe was released from the jail and sent for 10 years of hard labor in Kostroma. And then that was demoted to 3 years, and that was demoted to 9 days. And then Yud Beit Tammuz, he was told he could leave. Well, I'll tell you. You want to know something?
No question is off limits. Anything
today you can ask anything, like
anything on your mind.
I could tell you, but it's very interesting because
questions you've been asking.
Hitler Yamach Shmo was once asked when he rose to power, and spelled out his final solution for the Jewish people. He was asked, "Do you really think you could overtake all the Jews in the world, including the Jews in the lower hemisphere, Jews of America? You think you could get to them?" He said.
Sorry, who asked?
He was asked, Hitler.
By a Jew? Or?
No, by people. I said, "Do you think you're going to invade America? You plan to remove to eliminate all the Jews in the world? Yeah. You think you're really going to get there?" He says, "No, not at all, not at all. All I have to do is wipe away European Jewry. And American Jewry, who is already assimilated, will fall by the wayside very quickly."
No.
You really knew.
Because European Jewry, where Jews were in the upper hemisphere for thousands of years, they were the flame, they were the heart of Judaism.
What about Middle Eastern Jewry?
So Middle Eastern Jewry, very interesting. The Moroccans, the Persians for over 100 years didn't have rabbis. No, for 100 years they didn't have. The last 100 years.
Yeah, they don't call them.
No, there was no rabbinic. You know what?
You never call him. I never heard a rabbi in Iran.
The rabbi is more of a thing, where it's not a.
No, but you know. Do you understand?
They call him more law.
Something like that. Serve the same purpose.
What's the purpose of a rabbi? What's a rabbi?
That's not a rabbi.
When the word rabbi is an acronym, Rabbi is an acronym. Rosh Bnei Israel, the head. The head is what tells the hand, the foot, the heart what to do.
That chief familiar.
So there were, but
That inspirational, but not.
It was
anything. I tell you something. In the past,
in
100 years ago, they were more religious.
Right, but
leaders, the mullahs were far more.
But
religious.
there was a time. Yeah, listen, Jewish people had a tremendous presence in Iran. There's no question about it. In the Middle East, in Syria, in Iraq. We spend more time in that region than we did anywhere else in the world. 2,500 years we've been there.
No, but the learned Judaism is in Europe.
But the yeshivot, and that's the thing. What keeps the Jewish people, what makes Am Yisrael Chai, is our Torah, the learning of the Torah. And that's why every one of our enemies, everyone from Haman to modern day Hamans, Stalin and Hitler, everyone first and foremost always goes after our children. If you want to destroy a tree, you go to the roots. Disconnect a tree from the roots, you don't have to chop it up. It's going to die in its own.
Broken branches are broken.
That's it. So if you want to destroy the people, you go and disconnect the children from their family. And there was a tremendous study that the Mayo Clinic concluded. I came across this study 2009, so it must have been somewhere around that time. It says, what is the biggest empowering agent for the youth of today? And you see this openly. You see this. What is the biggest empowering agent for a child not to fall to all these, the wayside behaviors, etc., etc.? It's knowing who their family is, knowing where their family came from, who their grandfather, their great-grandparents, and so forth. Psychologically, it says a child who knows what their grandfather, their grandmother, he knows it's inside of him, he has it, and no matter what he's dealing with, he could respond to it. You cut off the child from the parents to grandparents, and the child becomes a mushroom. And who takes over the government? Culture tells the child what to think.
Rabbi, the reason why the Jews today are so comfortable in America and everywhere else around the world is because we have Israel. So most Jews believe as long as Israel exists, we can't get harmed.
But how many Jews in America are religious?
Huh?
How many Jews in America are religious?
That's not true because
as long as Israel is alive,
right now in America, how many Jews are
as long
religious?
as Israel is alive, there will not be a Holocaust. If Israel
Worse than the Holocaust in America right now than Holocaust.
assimilation, murder.
Look at it that way.
No, it's not that way. He's 100. Omid is 100.
Just like he said, people don't care about Israel. People don't care about the Jews. People don't care about religion.
Yeah, but Israel is not keeping Jews.
But most Jews don't care to be Jews.
Jews in Israel are less
Most
Jewish.
Jews don't
No,
care.
hold on.
Jews in Israel are less Jewish.
But they don't care.
Jordan, hold on a second. Let's analyze for two points over here. What Omid is saying is 100% accurate, and this is because there's a Pew poll that came out that showed that out of 10 Jews, 7.5 are going to intermarry a non-Jew.
So, Rabbi, can I just say one thing? When I was enrolling for Silverstein, they gave me a pamphlet. They said,
Are you Jewish?
No. It said, maybe you can help me out. It said, if you don't send your child to private school, maybe you can help me out with this.
You're on the right track.
It says like statistics. Like basically, if you don't send your kid to yeshiva, the chances of your child being Jewish at post
Your grandchild being Jewish?
No, post high school is like 50%, or I don't know.
Marrying Jewish.
Marrying Jewish.
Is that dramatic?
Yeah.
That's a different
50%.
No, that's not a different issue.
You send your kid to public school, it's like 0% chance that your child will be Jewish.
Much more dangerous.
Much more dangerous.
Much more
I
dangerous.
wish
Much
I
more
would have kept
dangerous.
that. But it's a little.
Much more dangerous.
I'm telling you, if you send
But
your
you would know
Hebrew,
the Jews. So
if you send to public
That's it.
school and Hebrew
That's
school,
it.
son of
Exactly.
your child still stands a chance to marry a Jewish woman.
I'm talking about fear of getting killed. I'm not talking about fear of being Jewish or being religious. Most Jews, unfortunately, don't care to be religious. That's a religious.
No, I don't think it's a care. I think it's more about lack of knowledge.
Okay, good.
Jordan, the issue, and especially this generation right now, it's not the fear of getting killed. It's the problem is the fear of not being alive. That's the bigger issue. That these children don't have the fear of not being alive.
Where does that stem from? Is that lack of spirituality?
It's because they were told that so long as you attend a good school, you have a good this, and you get a good vacation, and that's it. Go to shul on Yom Kippur. You don't have to be too religious. It's crazy to be too religious. And it's not about, you see, Judaism was never meant to be a religion. It's our relationship with God. It's a way of life, because just like marriage is a way of life. It's not a religion. It's not what you get a reward or not. This is your life, day in, day out, for however long you're alive. And as a Jew, we're here with a purpose. We're created for a purpose. Anything in this world, Hasidus Kabbalah explains, before creation can happen, purpose must precede it. Before a cup was made, there was a need to contain water. Before the glasses were made, there was a need to improve the eyesight.
Even man-made?
Everything. Everything in this world, we know in the bracha. What's after bracha? Etc. What is it? When you think about the words, you create many souls, and you sustain them for that which you created them. But the word chesronan, even though we translate it to mean you sustain them, the word chesronan in Hebrew is a root word of chesronan, is chaser, deficit.
Missing, yeah.
Which means, literally, if you translate this blessing, literally means you created many souls and you've endowed them with deficiencies. Why is that a blessing? Why are we blessing God for giving us deficiencies? Very simple. Because anything that was ever pioneered, anything that was ever created, it doesn't matter what it is, everything you look at began with someone noticing a deficiency.
Every creature has a purpose.
True. Every invention.
Deficiency spurs creativity. Deficiency spurs.
The mother of all creation.
That's it.
No,
Pioneering.
any invention that's
That's it.
created,
100%.
is the person was missing.
The mother of all creation.
That's it. And that's it. And if you're
You have a PhD. I don't have.
if
I don't have that PhD.
here in America, what are they? Especially,
fancy.
and those of you who grew up here in America in the '80s, we don't relate to that because we grew up very differently.
Like
But in this generation that's coming up, they're literally being taught having deficiency is bad. Having character flaws, ignore it. Have all the luxury, all the comforts, and all the this and all of that. Don't struggle. Don't pain. Don't.
It's even getting worse now. Nothing matters now.
And
Nothing matters.
and
What you wear doesn't matter.
exactly. And
What you like doesn't matter.
and this is it. So there's no hierarchy anymore. There's no purpose anymore.
There's no right. There's no left.
That's it. There's no direction anymore, and therefore, that's it. Forget it. I just saw a video of a guy I kid you not. I thought it was a satire. It was not a satire. I checked it. Yes, the guy was wearing a horse suit, and took a person to court, and he came to court with a horse suit and spoke to the judge, Your Honor. Oh God! And why did he sue? Why did he sue them? Because he's identified for his horse, and the defendant, quote unquote, did not address him correctly. And when the judge says, "I move to dismiss the case, but I do suggest you seek help," the guy literally pounced like a horse on the judge.
Yay or nay?
But
Yeah, exactly.
Think about it. 10 years ago, 15 years ago,
Dude, this is
if a guy came in and said, I identify as a woman,
this.
they would think the same way. They would say you need help. In 10 years, they're gonna give a right to that horse.
But you see, that's the thing. When you
All right, let's take a pause.
when you remove God, when you think about this world,
I'm the only one.
when you look at this world, all the concept the Torah taught us about the way Hashem creates the world from something to nothing, unless a person was very, very familiar with the Jewish text and in the dimension of the Torah, until 67 years ago, it was very difficult to understand and to believe. But with the advent of quantum physics, well, very simple. Science is telling you. If you look at this table right now, you see a table. Now, if you take a microscope and look at the very same table under the microscope, you won't notice a table. You'll see an entire universe of cells, of this, of bacteria, and all kinds of stuff. You take a quantum a quantum microscope and look at this very same table, you don't even see bacteria. You see energies flowing backwards and forwards. No table here. It's just energy moving so rapidly that it gives us the impression that there's a table. But in fact, all of this is energy. This is science is coming to tell us this. We're living at the times of Mashiach. And the Zohar says before Mashiach will come, science will develop so exponentially because science in itself is an expression of God.
Right. What's holding back Mashiach right now? What do you think the fundamental
Nothing.
reason?
At this point, the Rebbe said nothing's holding back Mashiach. The one thing the Rebbe did say is that we should, because there's one thing, we passed this test. We got the 65 collectively from all the previous generation, all of our previous incarnation. We got the 65. We're done.
What do you mean 65?
In other words, we passed the test. Nothing's holding. We know nothing's holding us. However, there's one caveat.
65 to 100 is the same.
There's one caveat. The Rebbe did say many times. The Rebbe said many times that we have to. That Hashem is waiting for us to open up our eyes and start living with Mashiach.
Start what?
Start living with Mashiach. I'll give you an example.
So meaning he's already here.
It says we're watching it happen. All this burst of technology, of medicine, of global consciousness. Mind you, here in America, 60, 70 years ago, if you would have said, if you would have said the word soul and this, you would have either been a hippie or deemed a communist. In Russia, if you would have said the word soul, then you would have been a capitalist. Exactly.
All right, let's take one L'chaim break. L'chaim.
Give it brother.
This is a Farbrengen. Don't
take it too seriously.
No, come on. One more shot.
You can't be too loose. You gotta be tipsy.
Okay, let's sing it. Let's sing it
I'm the
again.
only one drinking then.
Israel, have no fear, Mashiach will be here this year. Am Israel, have no fear, Mashiach will be here this year. Ay, 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 we want Mashiach now. Ay, we want Mashiach now. Oh, we want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. Oh, we want Mashiach now. Danny, he wants Mashiach now. Jordan wants Mashiach now. Ron wants Mashiach too.
So what was the answer? The Mashiach is here, but what happened? Sorry,
you gotta live with it.
I'll give you an example.
What's holding us back? Sorry.
Nothing.
No, the only thing the Rebbe said.
He said he's here, but
the Rebbe,
I didn't hear the answer.
the Rebbe.
Look at themselves and say, I'm not doing enough, which is why the show is there, no?
No, if he's here, but let's say someone's by the front door. So what's
You have to recognize.
You're not opening the door.
That's
You're
right.
not letting him in.
Right.
Now, there's an aphorism: "Where is God? Wherever you let Him in." But where does God want to be specifically? Where you don't want to let Him in. The point where He says, "No, over here, no, don't talk to me about that. I'm not comfortable with that." That's exactly where God wants to be.
Trigger.
Wherever your resistance is, you come to a doctor and he touches it, or here, it hurts, don't touch over here, touch everywhere else, just not here.
We have a doctor here.
But it's specifically where it hurts that you start. It could be a referred pain, but you got to start where it hurts.
Right.
Where the point where you say, no, over here, I don't want to hear about this, I'm good without this, that's exactly where you're meant to start.
Can I ask a question though?
Hold on one second.
I'm dealing with.
Hold on,
I'm dealing with a yes or horror.
Daniel, hold on one second.
Okay, fine.
You asked a very important question. You asked a foundational
I
question.
thought that was the answer. Okay, fine.
You have the whole night.
I wrote question mark. There's no end time.
You asked a good question, let's wait for
No, I'm saying the end time is question mark. Meaning,
He's at the door.
That's where the kids get up. Yeah.
So, look at what I was saying. I'll tell you the impediment and then I'll tell you the solution. As a chaplain to different prisons, I remember one of my first experiences as a chaplain,
As a Rebbe.
where I came to, it was a place, it's Marion in Pennsylvania, Marion State Penitentiary. It's medium security.
Wow.
Which means the inmates are able to walk freely through the yard, and we're able to. I remember the very first time I was walking through the yard to go to the chapel. I overheard a conversation between a new inmate. What's the difference between a prisoner and an inmate? A prisoner is there for a little bit. An inmate, this is his life. I overheard briefly as I was walking just a snippet of a conversation. This inmate was just transferred to this prison, and he was asking his CO, his commanding officer, could I have a comfortable mattress? And the CO asked, why do you need a comfortable mattress? He says, because if I'm going to be here, I might as well be comfortable. That's all I heard. But, the Baal Shem Tov teaches that everything you hear, there's what to learn in serving God. Because you hear everything by divine providence.
I just heard this today, Be'emet.
And so, this concept, when I was thinking about it, you're in prison, and you want to be comfortable? Why? If you're comfortable, you get cable television, you get a gym, you get your PhD, you can get your schooling, you're living in a gated community, you have Uber Eats comes to your cell every single day, and you're going to have a comfortable mattress. Why would you want to leave it? Why would you not want to come back? Because as soon as you come out to the world, and it's very difficult. You're like, I can't be here. I'd much rather go back there. Because over there, everything's comfortable. Growing is associated with pain. Comfortability demands comfort. But comfort is where everything good goes to die. So having said this, that's the dilemma. Because we became too comfortable. So you take a mouse, or take a rat, and teach him to run through a maze. Rats have pretty good muscle memory, and they have very good instinct, and so let the rat run several times through this maze, and it develops this muscle memory, and then you blindfold the mouse. He'll run the mouse will run seamlessly right through that maze, based on muscle memory. Now, what happens if you leave the blinders on, the blindfold on, but you remove the maze walls? How will the rat run? Will it run directly to the end goal? No. It'll keep the very same patterns. Because it's blind. It doesn't see. The Rebbe often told us, open up your eyes. You're living in times that are unprecedented. If you told your grandparents, your great-grandparents, there's going to be a day that we're going to be able to observe Judaism openly, schools galore, kosher food galore, you can make money. Because in all the generations before this generation, you had to choose one. Either you're going to make it in materially, or you're going to be an authentic Jew.
Rabbi was alive today, what would he say?
He would be impressed by us.
You would?
Absolutely.
Impressed, or would he say?
Impressed. Because the Rebbe once said that
How much more?
our Judaism, no, just the opposite. Our Judaism is so much more authentic than his generation. Because in our generation, what motivates you to go to shul, to keep Shabbos, to eat kosher? Why are you here now on a Wednesday evening? There's shows to watch, there's this to do. There's no reason. It's not like the world is giving you praise for what you're doing. It's not like more parnassah is going to come or more honor is going to come. No.
There's a lot more Yitzhahara now.
And there's so much more Yitzhahara. And the very fact that you're sitting here right now, when that in his generation, Moshe and previous generation, they had tzaddikim, they had prophets. In Moshe's generation, they saw God, they saw the Adonai Kavod. They were
But if they were in this generation,
And
would
this
they do the
gen-
same thing or no?
No, this is it.
They would have the same.
We are reincarnation of that generation. We are the reincarnation of that generation. Our Judaism is so much more authentic But it comes with such a great impediment. We have what's called epigenetics, that we inherit our parents' dispositions, our grandparents' unresolved issues, traumas, and it seeps into generation from generation. I'll share with you something very, very powerful that I learned in the course of the last 2 years. We all know that there's what's called intergenerational trauma. In other words, through genetics, whatever traumas our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents went through, this becomes part and parcel of our reality. You know the hardest part about overcoming trauma? Is letting go of taking off the armor that a person had to put on in order to deal with that trauma. Because once you become accustomed that you have to defend yourself and you have to always shield yourself, it becomes very difficult to differentiate yourself between what you've been through and where you're living right now. Jewish people for thousands of years had to defend ourselves. We went through pogroms, we went through Holocaust, we've been through exiles, expulsions, everything between that, inquisitions. There's a beautiful concept, and I could almost guarantee you that each one of you are going through this at some point of your life, but you must recognize it. In each family, this is now neuropsychology, is started to scratch the surface of what Torah told us for thousands of years. In each family, you're going to have this black sheep that just doesn't fit. Just doesn't fit. The quirky one. The one that is the what?
The outcast.
The outcast. Psychology today is telling us that this isn't a fluke. This outcast is the one that's meant to accomplish what's called metabolizing the trauma. The one that is on the outside, that doesn't see therefore he's not tied into everything else. He is the one, or she is the one, that has to metabolize. Meaning, I do recognize that my parents, or I was given this, I did go through this. But instead of running away from this, I have to embrace that this is the beginning of growth.
Beginning of growth.
Yeah. Torah teaches us that the strength and the abilities and the talents that we're given, we have to thank God for. But you know where our services really begin? Where your historical mark begins? Not with your strength. And specifically in your vacuums. And specifically in the deficiencies. It's when you notice a deficiency, and instead of trying to run away or cover up for it, or defend for it, or blame, you know what it says? A foolish person blames everybody around them. A smart person blames himself. But a wise person blames no one. As soon as he notices a deficiency, no matter how it came about, what can I do about it? What needs to be done? I'm not here to blame. I'm not here to pass a buck. I don't look down on my parents because they didn't know how to parent, because they did their best with their limited tools. Look, we could turn on Instagram right now and get more psychology that wasn't available in the entire generation 100 years ago, 30 years ago. Our parents didn't know any better. They literally did their very best. You know, your parents, every one of your parents, you know what the aim of a parent? To raise a child about as far as possible from where they came from. Our parents did that for us. To the best of our ability, we have to raise our children to the best of our ability about where we came from. For their sake. Not because we want to give them what we didn't have. Because that's never healthy. But because they're capable of achieving so much more than we could ever achieve. And for that, we need to raise them as far as possible, even if it's not comfortable for us, especially when it's not comfortable. So we don't blame our parents or grandparents or even ourselves. What's the point of blaming yourself? How is it going to help you? A truly wise person notices a deficiency and says, okay, and what do I do about it? How do I innovate because of this situation, not despite? You notice a difficulty, how did you innovate? That's the difference between a truly successful person versus someone who's pretending to be. And everybody here remembers, if you're over 40, you probably remember Black Monday. Remember that?
Cyber Monday?
Black Monday.
What Black Monday? There's no
Danny, remove yourself from materialism.
Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Huh?
Right.
Amazon July 8th.
I never heard of Black Friday.
Black Monday
Black Monday, sorry.
was in a month. I don't exactly
You're saying
remember
Black Monday.
I don't exactly remember the date, but I remember turning on the news, and it was a
He's
month.
Googling it.
It was a Monday in October 1987, where the stock market hit the greatest crash over the crash that set the Great Depression. I remember waking up and on Channel 5. It was I forgot it wasn't Fox yet. It was right before it became Fox. It was I forgot already. But I remember waking up to people were throwing themselves out of their windows in Wall Street. They lost everything. The following Sunday, there was a Jew by the name of David Chase, who was David Chase. David Chase. He was a very big philanthropist. Very big philanthropist. There are many institutions that David Chase founded. And David Chase recently, not too recent before, but he very recently before that became a Baal Tshuva through one of the shluchim of the Rebbe. And that following Sunday, he walked by the Rebbe for dollars, and he asked the Rebbe, now what? And the Rebbe tells him, this right now is your greatest opportunity to grow exponentially. This market right now is what sets apart the true business person versus the spectator. In other words, you don't have to be a businessman to become wealthy in a very successful market. But when it's a bear market, after a humongous crash, now that's going to discern who you really are. Where do you know who you really are? What's the saying? You could discern the person's real strength in their weakest moment. And specifically when everything is going against the tide. You know, it says, how do you know if a fish is a healthy fish?
It goes against the water.
Because it goes against the tide. A fish is carried by the tide. It might be going very quickly because the tide is going quickly.
It's resistant.
But it's on the way to die. It
Sorry,
can't.
Rabbi, can I interject? Sorry. You gave a lot of words of chizuk. I'm on a high right now, but at the end of the day, I walk away from tonight, and then I go tomorrow with the kids.
He wants the tikkun. He wants the essential.
I take all your words into consideration, but I can't implement. It's the challenge. I can't overcome it. Like I can't.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going
I'm asking you, how do I?
to ask you one question, and this is tied.
I'm on the GPS is correct.
And
Everything is correct.
A lot of distractions.
Everything is the right kavanah, the right everything.
Danny,
But
here's the answer.
the kid is
Here's your ultimate answer.
punching you out. How you gonna?
Here's your ultimate answer.
I'm speaking on behalf of. I think everybody's the same idea, but I walk away on a high.
It's not that.
But tomorrow comes.
No, it's not. It's not that.
I can't pass.
the ultimate high in Judaism is how low can you bring that high into? The highest something is, the lower it could penetrate.
One more time.
The higher something is, the lower it could go. In other words, the high that you're feeling now isn't, as Moshe Rabbeinu says, lo b'shamayim. Torah is not in heaven. It's not for you to feel hunky-dory about your life and feel come out of a shul or Farbrengen or anything. I'm inspired. This person doesn't mean nothing. Hamais or ikar. The higher something is, the lower it could go and penetrate the depth of it.
The harder the fall, essentially.
No, it means the more inspiration, the more it needs to penetrate the lowest part of your life.
The higher you
But
want
tomorrow
to
I come. The kids
Now,
are...
hold on, Danny.
Whatever, let's say
hold
screaming.
on.
I can't...
Hold on, 1 second.
They go to class.
And this brings and
It's like a beat.
That was tonight.
Drops from high,
That's tonight.
down
the
low.
lowest.
Bunker.
This is a bunker buster.
That's
It goes to the
Chazak Baruch. Tonight is tonight.
huh?
Tomorrow is a new day.
Hold on,
It's a
Daniel.
new...
Hold on 1 second.
It's a new... Forget about today.
Daniel, we can't hear that Jew over there. Yeah.
Can you just elaborate on that point? The higher you go, the lower you
Yeah.
go.
When you have a wall of bricks, let's just say 30, 40, 50, 100 feet into 1,000 feet into the ground, above ground. Which brick is going to fall the furthest away from the wall? Which brick, the bottom brick or the higher brick?
Higher.
The higher something is, the lower it
I have
falls.
to answer his question.
Hold
You're
on.
not very
So now,
sophisticated yet.
the question that we began was, what's holding up Mashiach? So not really nothing. Really, at this point, nothing's happening. Nothing's holding up. But the Rebbe, when the Rebbe says, "Open up your eyes," and we spoke about the example of the maze being removed. What does it mean to live with Mashiach? The concept of Mashiach. I'll tell you a story, and this is a very important story. A very, very important story. Chaim.
Fine.
Pause.
Go ahead.
In the
Group.
in the 80s, a group from France came to the Rebbe, led by a Rabbi Malul. And one of the Jews who accompanied Rabbi Malul to meet the Rebbe was a Jew who was somewhat off. He genuinely believed that he was Mashiach. He believed it so much that he did Torah research and compiled an entire folder, very thick folder with sources from the Torah, from every single section of the Torah to demonstrate that he, according to the Torah, is Mashiach. He accompanied Rabbi Malul from France to come to 770 for one reason. He was certain that he must meet the Lubavitcher Rebbe to get the bracha to reveal himself. He comes to 770, I'm not kidding with you. He comes to 770 and he walks around with the manila envelope with all the proof and he starts showing everybody, I want you to see I'm here, right? Now imagine somebody comes to you and says, listen, excuse me, sir, do you have about 20, 30 minutes to look over all my things to know that I'm Mashiach? That's exactly what he did. He went from person to person. Literally, he said, I'm here. Here's my proof. Now, anybody in their right mind, conventionally, will look at the person and say, I'm sorry, something is off. Thank you very much, but no thank you. He insisted. He pushed so hard. I want to meet the Rebbe because the Rebbe knows I'm coming. The Rebbe knows that he must validate me being Mashiach so I can reveal myself.
How do we prove that he's not?
Well, it's not about proving it not. Most people will say, what are you talking about? He insisted of having a private audience with the Rebbe. The secretary... the secretariat wanted to push him away because the Rebbe's time is precious.
Private audience is not easy.
But when the Rebbe heard that he is here, he says, "Come in. I want you to come in." Let him in immediately. He came in. He opened up his manila envelope, showed it to the Rebbe. One of the greatest lessons that the Rebbe gave us into human relationships is how empathy is a door opener to every single locked door.
You just want to be heard.
You would think so, but empathy is only the key. I have a relationship class. It's called Nurturing Relationship. We have many couples are coming there. And right now we're focusing on empathy, listening with empathy. It's a game changer in a marriage. I have couples like, you can't imagine. You can't imagine empathy listening. Yeah, it requires activity, but you can't imagine how the intimate relationship of the couple changes almost instantly once you incorporate this into your life. But this is only the key. It's only the key. So the Rebbe said, let him in. He comes to the Rebbe, and he opens up. The Rebbe was a speed reader. So the Rebbe wasn't pretending. He went through all the sources. He says, okay, very good. But I have a few questions for you. So the Rebbe looks at this Jew and says, do you put on tefillin every day? He says, I don't. He says, well, Mashiach has to put on tefillin. The Rambam says this. Very simple. He has to put on tefillin. Would you take it upon yourself to put on tefillin on a daily basis in order to reveal as your Mashiach? He says, Rabbi, if in order for me to reveal a Mashiach, I'm taking off right now to put on tefillin. The Rabbi says, that's a good start. But another question. Do you keep Shabbos and Yom Tov? He says, I don't yet, I haven't. He said, well, halacha. Mashiach has to follow halacha. Shabbos and Yom Tov. Do you take upon yourself Shabbos and Yom Tov? He says, yes. He says, okay, one more question. Do you keep kosher? He says, I don't. He says, well, Mashiach has to keep kosher. Do you take it out? He says, Rabbi, I take upon myself tefillin. I take upon myself Shabbos and Yom Tov. I take upon myself kosher. The Rabbi says, go, start practicing, internalize it a little bit. When you do, come back and I'll give you more instruction of what else you need to do in order to reveal your Mashiach. And indeed, he went out, changed his entire life. Today, this guy is I think he's a grand-grandfather at this point. Frum Jew with family, but what was the point? The Rebbe wasn't playing around. Okay, let me use this situation to show him. And Kabbalah explains every one of us has a spark of Mashiach inside of us. We have a piece of Moshe that's ready, willing, and able to take us out of whatever Egypt we're in. To go out of exile, what is exile? A condition where you cannot express your true self, your true value, who you really are. That's exile. When a person cannot be themselves, they're in exile.
I'm stuck. Like, tomorrow comes. How am I
Hold
going to
on.
You want to do one l'chaim for that?
Hold on. This concept of going out of your own exile means that
They need one l'chaim.
once a group of students who came from a local university came to the Rebbe to meet and met with the Rebbe, and they weren't religious, they didn't know too much. Their rabbi told them what a Rebbe is. You're going to meet with a great tzaddik. And in their private audience with the Rebbe, one of the students turned to the Rebbe and says, Rebbe, I heard you do miracles. And he says, is that true? The Rebbe smiles and says, yes, I do miracles. But not just me. All of you could do miracles. He says, Rebbe, we can't do miracles. And the Rebbe says to him, what's the difference between nature and miracles? Nature is just, as Einstein says, you could live like everything's a miracle and nothing's a miracle. You can't, there's no in between. Nature is just cyclical, so we're used to it. And the human condition is such as once we get used to it, yeah, it's beautiful, but it's not a miracle. Miracle is a suspension of nature. The Rebbe says, if that's the kind of miracle you're talking about, you too could do it. Tomorrow morning, you could do a miracle. And the Rebbe says, in my estimation, you haven't put on tefillin yet. If you go to the adjacent synagogue across my office and ask one of the students to put on tefillin with you, that will be a miracle. In other words, you're going against whatever cyclical nature you've accustomed yourself to. Okay, now you answer. Because both of those stories were necessary. When the Rebbe says that we're living in Mashiach times, and quite evident that you're seeing it, Labriut, for truth.
Yes.
You're, like literally, according to the Midrash, you're seeing. Because the Midrash says that when the year that the Melech HaMashiach will be revealed in it, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, B'shana she'Melech HaMashiach nigla ba, all the nations of the world are contending one with each other. The Saudi king will be at odds with the Persian king. The Saudi king will go to the king of Aram of America to seek advice of what to do with the Persian king.
I heard this recently, yeah.
The Persian king will go into hiding when the Persian king comes back from hiding and destroys the entire world. And the entire world will feel birth pangs, like ripped apart. And the Jewish people will then cry out, where we come, where we go, and then Hashem will say, Anavi, my humble ones, don't be afraid, don't be scared. Don't be afraid, don't be nervous. Everything I did for you. We're watching this happening right now in Yalkut Shimoni.
I heard this from outside.
It's a midrash from just 1900 years ago.
America is the Saudis.
Aram. Yeah, Persia.
Amalek, but it says
No.
I can send you I have somebody else who says this.
Midrash. So, the Zohar says.
Correct.
The Zohar says, as a precursor to Mashiach's coming, a Parshat Noach, the Zohar says, as a precursor to Mashiach's coming, when the Torah describes Noach's flood, the inner dimension of the Torah says, well, like a nose cannot be a toe, and a toe cannot be a nose. But the DNA you can find in a nose is the same DNA you find in a toe. Says the Zohar, yes, the Torah speaks about Noach and the flood and so on and so forth, but it's actually intimating Mashiach's time. So as a precursor of Mashiach's time, just like it says in Parshat Noach that the gates of the windows of the heaven opened up and it started flooding from above, and so did the water from the abyss climb up from the earth and flooded the world. So too, before Mashiach come, the gates of heaven, the windows of heaven are going to open up, and godly wisdom will start streaming rapidly and tremendously into this world. In other words, spirituality is going to start flooding the world. And at the same time, the waters from the abyss, the wisdom, sciences, technology is going to start developing in such rapid paces. We're watching, right now, I was watching it last night, I was watching a video about AI, and I'm starting to use it myself, and I'm so taken aback. While internet in itself took from I was watching this video of these newscasters speaking about what's going to happen with AI. I was thinking about, all of us were alive in 1995, where those newscasters it's called the internet, and he says this. It's going to be. You remember? Who of you remember the Bloomberg interview with the CEO of Blockbuster?
Right.
And he was asked, "Are you at all nervous about these new emerging companies called Netflix and Amazon?" He says, "Netflix, who heard of them? Who's going to ever use this internet? Who's going to do any commerce? We have the American experience. We have 5 copies of each video on the shelf." And he was right for that moment. But it took 10 years for internet to reach the the level where AI reached in less than a year, as far as being in everyone's home. But unlike the internet, where internet is just a conduit for information and commerce, AI is revolutionizing the world. Because when it says when Mashiach is going to come, no more hunger, no more sickness. Well, I was watching a video last night, and this is the heads of Google, the head of Apple, and they're like saying, well, right now we fed AI the human genome. We would take basically 1 million years for 1,000 advanced scientists to figure out, and it cracked the human genome in 5 hours, which basically translates to medicine and ability to avert sicknesses and cure sicknesses within less than a year. The AI technology, and at the same time, now on the other side, they're saying that the AI is able right now to measure earth and water and within less than 2 years do away with hunger. Automated services to create and build infrastructure to provide food and everything. Solution. This is the times of Mashiach. Like if you when the Rambam says when the times of Mashiach based on the prophets that the world will be full of knowledge, like the water, godly knowledge, like the water covers the sea. There was no printing press back then. And now we see the amount of knowledge just I have literally the entire Torah on one app. Literally. Sefaria. You have the entire Torah translated with all the commentaries. And it's like...
Danny's still concerned about tomorrow.
I agree with you.
No.
Torah, knowledge, everything I have in my back pocket.
No.
But I'm at war. Right now I'm combating the kids.
No.
They're sitting in front of me.
No.
They're yelling, they're screaming.
No.
You don't yourself.
Danny, you have to change your perspective. When the Rebbe says that Mashiach is here,
You face that challenge with your kids, stop and blame yourself.
no, don't blame. No, don't blame.
I
Don't
mean,
blame.
that's a wrong.
No. Over here, when the Rebbe says,
Think about it.
when the Rebbe says that we don't even need. Right now,
Wow,
we're seeing with our own open eyes, and this is your answer, Danny, and to all of us. When the Rebbe says there's nothing holding up Mashiach, but we have to open up our eyes. You know, our biggest impediment. When you were saying my kids, my wife, my this and that?
I hear you. Look, listen.
I'm asking you a question.
A person goes to college. They read the books.
Danny.
They go to graduate school. They read the books. It says do X, do Y, and Z. This is if A, B, C happens, do A, B, C, D, whatever it is. X, Y, and Z. Chazak Baruch. But then now you're facing real life.
How do you do that?
What they taught you in graduate school, high school, whatever.
It's totally different.
They didn't have that variable in the. I never learned that one. You taught me whatever you taught me.
Danny, I'm going to ask.
But I'm standing here.
I'm going to ask you one question.
The challenge is.
Danny, I'm going to ask you one question.
X, Y, Z. X, whatever it is, the new letters.
Alpha.
That didn't exist. Alpha, Malpha, AI. Now how are you gonna deal with it? I'm serious. This is
I'm going to ask you a question.
Play it down. Okay, sorry. I got excited. Sorry. It's not like that. It's A, B, and C. I just don't know how to.
And here's the answer.
Everybody's speaking the same thing, but they don't want to say it.
No. I'll talk about it.
Don't give us, don't put us in your shoes.
I'm speaking on behalf of the group. You know.
Here's the answer. Here's the answer.
That's not ABC.
The answer is very simple. It's simple, but it requires work. When you think go back to today, yesterday, a week ago, a month ago. What was your biggest issue? Your children, your wife, your business. What was at the core? What was at the core of it? Not what was said. I had a couple yesterday, and the husband says she needs words of affirmation, so I try to give it to her. I said, and why does she need that for? So I don't know. She just needs it. Says, well, then that's the reason why you're here, because if you're only latching onto the symptom and you don't see the core, then you miss the entire point. What's the core? If you think about the last whatever issues you dealt with, your wife, your business, your children, that really like threw you off. What's at the core of it? What's at the core?
Alignment with
A what?
Failure.
Failure.
Patience.
Failure. That's it. The fear of failing. The animal soul, the ego, is programmed to fear failure. Our biggest impediment is the fear that if and it's wrongful, it's wrong. But if I don't raise my kids correctly, I failed as a parent. Because my wife and I are this, my marriage is a failure.
But if you don't have that fear also, you don't grow.
That's the thing. This is what the Rebbe meant when he says we're in the Mashiach times, but we have to open up our eyes. What's that mean? Well, in all other previous generations, there were the maze was there. The maze was there. And you had to take certain routes. Like it or not, you had to. It was a guide, and whatever it is, but it was there. I'm going to ask you one question right now. And if you're honest with yourself, and if you're really determined to make it in life, and here's a make or break. Really, it's a make or break. What I'm about to tell you is based both on Torah and Kabbalah, and Baruch Hashem, psychology finally caught up. I'm going to ask you one question. What's stopping you right now from having the best shalom bayit, the best intimacy, the best connection with your children? The best being professional. What?
I myself.
What about yourself? What? Which part? Not you, because you're holy of holy. The real you is holy of holy. What part of you? Where's that laziness come from? No. See, very, very interesting. Very interesting. Because.
So it's never the other fault.
It's no one's fault. It doesn't. There's no such thing as laziness. No such thing. Laziness is a symptom, not a core issue.
For me, it's
laziness, lack of patience, and so on and so forth come from one core issue, which is
lack of knowledge, lack of a bird's eye view.
You take a Bugatti and let it race a 1980s Dodge Caravan. I don't know if they were around, but let's just say they were. The Bugatti is going to rip the roads before even you could turn on the ignition with the Dodge. The Dodge could hit 30 miles an hour at this point without shaking. It's a miracle. That's so long as the Bugatti has fuel in it. When the Bugatti doesn't have fuel, it ain't going nowhere. It's built for speed. It's a monster of speed. But without fuel, it's stuck where it is. Torah tells us the fuel of dealing with our challenges is our natural born joy. Someone who's lazy, procrastinates, gets impatient, is only demonstrating one thing. They don't have joy in their life. They are living a mechanical life. And now anything that's going to come against that is attacking it. So it's either I'm going to just become lazy. Lazy is just a defense mechanism. It means I can't take anymore. It's too much for me.
What's the core issue?
Depression. Huh?
You know what depression means?
Lack of
You want to hear the best word, that best interpretation of depression I've ever heard? I'm depressed. The best interpretation.
Too self-centered.
Depressed means deep rest. What does that mean? My body needs deep rest from the persona I've been carrying. I've been trying to pretend to be something I'm not. I've been trying to people
It's a
please.
body issue or it's
It's
a soul?
the body issue.
It's a soul issue.
Depression comes from the body issues. The soul is infinite. It cannot be held down by any, no matter how bad a person sins or doesn't believe in God. The soul is infinite. Nothing can take away from it. Depressed means that a person had to assume a persona, people pleasing, try to please a wife, please this one, to try to make it to show. But I don't feel alive anymore. And the person slowly loses their spirit, their drive. And they start feeling secondary to life, tertiary to their life. And that's when laziness sets in. That's where procrastination sets in. That's where the lack of patience sets in. It's not that the person is not equipped with it. I just don't have the fuel to continue this. I'd much rather shut down and hide away in whatever room, in whatever toilet, and play with this or whatever it is, than deal with what's happening outside over here. I just don't have that. I have so much on my plate right now, I don't know what else to do.
How do you address that? Especially for kids these days where it doesn't seem like they have much yet, they just shut down.
Well,
they just
and this
don't
is-
wanna-
and-
don't want to even do the smallest thing because they just want to be on this all the time.
Well, because we substituted true interaction and true fueling for synthetics. And,
This is the first time I'm not even looking at my phone.
synthetic itself will only do it for you.
We changed questions there, I feel like. Danny first asked something.
No, he's getting to the root.
No,
He's
no,
getting
no.
to the-
Right now we're talking about
No,
There's
no,
a
no.
root canal, he's getting to it. He's
He's
getting to
getting
the
to
root
the
canal.
point. He's getting to the pain.
You're looking at the surface. He's looking at the...
Here, you have to see it organically.
Good, really. Seeing
Because
good.
because if you're looking, it's very easy to play a doctor on television. It's very easy to say to your wife, honey, baby, whatever it is. Let's do this. Let's do this. And to your children, okay, if we just change the method, and you try this for a week, a month, you're all up and excited and everything, and then it just goes back to where it started from, even worse.
Right now,
You're
you come
in-
home from work.
Should we take a l'chaim break or no?
No. Right now you come home from work, your kids are yelling, your wife is stressed, she's yelling, this one's
Every time
yelling,
there's
now
one
it's
back.
yelling, this one's yelling, now it's stressed. So you have to look at yourself and say, I'm the problem?
When the yelling
Never, ever, ever, ever. That's why. That's
What's the root cause?
that's why I said before. A truly wise person never blames anyone.
How do you...
You
But we
take
can't cope with this. It's like a...
no. Wait. Just the opposite. It's not that you can't. When the Rebbe says,
What motivates you to go home and say, I want to hear this yelling, stress, and anxiety, and I don't want to go to Danny's house for sure. I want to be home.
He's professional.
we said this before. Your strengths should be celebrated. Your talents should be. You should have tremendous gratitude to God for them. But it's specifically in your weaknesses, in the deficits, where it's God specifically inviting you to grow. It's when there's a lack, that's where God says, if you're noticing a lack, if you're hearing it, it means you're capable of more. And I can't let you be stagnant anymore. How do God communicate this to you other than the people you come around, and specifically your intimate circle? First and foremost, your wife, then your children, then your immediate circle, which will present a tremendous. At first, it will be quiet, because God speaks to you quietly first. I'm just trying to get your attention, so you'll. And when you say, "I'm too busy right now. I'm sorry. I have where to go. I have what to do." The God says, "Okay, I'll send you the signal a little louder. Please pay attention." He says, yeah, I hear it. I really do hear it. I just have very important things to accomplish in my life. So I don't have time for this right now. That signal doesn't go away because it's a you issue. Not because you did something wrong. Because you don't know how important you are. You don't understand how essentially important you are to God's plan. In other words, if it wasn't for you, Mashiach cannot come. And the people that God gave you, as far as your wife, your children, your immediate circles, they're not just by the way somehow you ended up with this. This is your tikkun. This is your completion. This is intergenerational metabolizing the trauma. Understand that when your children are crying or this or that, that's not by the way. That's God saying, I believe in you so much that that's what I'm giving you, because you're the only one that's going to be able to utilize this and grow and help them grow with this. Understand, I just, you can't imagine how many couples come to me, unfortunately, in their tail end of their marriage. When they went to this therapist and it didn't work. And those who adhere have success rates, Baruch Hashem. But the question is, how much are you willing to go against your own muscle grain about what makes you comfortable? You know the crazy part about comfort? The human condition is such as that we get acclimated to toxicity, self-loathing. It is what it is, very comfortably, very quickly. Okay, so we're not that close. Okay, so my children know. Okay, my children are. Okay, what can I do? We assume this reality so quickly that there's no need to change anymore. When the Rebbe says, "Open up your eyes," the Rebbe was teaching us and gave us a strength to accomplish something powerful. What is it? Very simple. We're not living in the 1800s. We're not living in the 1900s. We're living in a time of unprecedented global proportion opportunity. Only question is, what is it about you that's holding you back from achieving that opportunity? What is it about your paradigm? Not you, because you're good, you're holy, you're infinite. I'm not talking about religious or not. Every Jew, religious or not Jew, is absolutely holy of holies. The only question is, what is it about your paradigm that's holding you back from your success? And that's...
But so how come Hashem wasn't nudging me like when I was single? When I was single, let's say.
Your mission didn't begin yet.
Yeah, a different mission.
Your mission didn't begin yet. Your mission specifically begins when the vacuum begins. When you notice that deficiency, that's when you start mattering. Until then, you come into a room and you turn on the light. Beautiful, enjoy the light. You're enjoying somebody else's, realizing the deficiency happened and they decide to do something about it. Your mission specifically begins when you notice a deficiency in your life, with your wife, with your kids.
So is there a defense like I can't handle it or I
which is a good thing.
And this and that's exactly, it's a good thing.
It's alarm. It's alarm because that's
no, I know.
and
if someone says here,
and no,
I want you to run.
No, and Danny, and here
100 miles,
and here
1 mile in
Danny,
5 minutes.
Danny.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Danny.
He's not giving you a test that you can handle.
Situation that you can't.
That's it. The Gemara says you're not given.
But right now I can't do it.
No.
You think you can.
No. Here is your ultimate. Here's your ultimate. When the Rabbi says, "Open up your eyes," you're living Mashiach times.
It's only gonna get harder. Don't worry.
What it means.
4 minutes. Now you have 4 minutes. Now you have 4 minutes.
What it
run that 1 mile.
What it means is one thing, and if
5 minutes was
if you come out with anything from tonight, here's the bottom line: in any field of your success that you aspire to achieve, when the Tzaddik Ador, when the Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation says, all of the walls of the maze have been removed, there's only one question you have to ask yourself. What's stopping me from living my best life right now? What's stopping me from showing the most amazing love to my children? What's stopping me from being present in my own life, with my wife, in my business? What? There are kids over here. They're literally kids who didn't go to college, who didn't go to high school, are making hundreds of millions of dollars today. It's not like the 80s and the 90s. All conventional rules have been thrown by the wayside. Literally, technology and science and the world tells you today you have no limitations. AI, with AI, you could accomplish today in literally 5 minutes what it would take decades to accomplish. And so if you're going to be honest with yourself and you're really determined to be successful, because what is Mashiach? Mashiach is bringing every one of your potential to actual. Exile is when you have a lot of potential, but like we said before, the clock gets it right twice and misses everything in between. Ask yourself right now, what's stopping me from when my children are crying and all I know they need is real attention? Because if kids are crying, it means they just didn't get the right attention. So what's stopping me from giving my children the attention that they need? Not that I want to give or not, that they actually need. What's stopping me? Who? In previous generation, there was a Stalin that says if you spend time with your children, no. In previous generations, there was a Stalin, there was a Hitler, there was a this and this, and put a gun to your head and says, no, you have no right, you can't, you're not allowed to. Who's stopping you today? What's stopping you today?
Paying the child's tuition. $17,000 a year. Per child. Not one child. Not all children.
To which yeshiva? To which yeshiva?
Any yeshiva.
I'm asking which yeshiva?
Orthodox.
Which yeshiva? I'm asking which yeshiva is charging $17,000? Shevach?
$25,000 minimum.
Security fee to the security.
Shevach is charging.
That's a low end. That's a low end.
I'm asking Shevach is charging your children in Shevach right now?
One child.
And they're charging him $17,000?
That's the base. That's like the low end.
My kid went to 36,000.
The what?
36,000.
Come on.
Which yeshiva?
No sure.
Who said they
I
need
hear
to
you.
go there?
Listen,
How much is Silverstein for a 2-year-old?
Chazak Baruch.
For a
But
2-year-old?
2-year-old.
9,000? 8,000?
there's a juggling.
Building, this, that.
10.
But Rabbi,
I'm not a good juggler.
Listen, I can tell you, after COVID, I started raising tuition for kids who can't afford it. Any kid who wants to go to yeshiva, I don't care which yeshiva, but a real yeshiva, not a stupid yeshiva.
not a public school.
Not a public school called yeshiva. But any kid who wants to go to yeshiva and they can't, I will personally raise the money for them. It's not an excuse today. But your children, more than needing this or that, they need you. They need your connection. They need your attention. They need your confidence. They need you to tell them what life is. To scratch your back and sit home with. Yes, money is money, but money is from Hashem. What do you think? You're making your own money? Paro says, "I made my own. I made the Nile."
I look at it as a juggling. It's you give a little bit here, you give a little bit there. But
who are you doing this for? Who are you doing this for?
Hashem's will.
Who are you working so hard for?
To do the will of Hashem, to send the kids.
You're doing it for your kids. Ask your kids, what do you want more from me right now? What do you need more from me? And be honest with yourself. Ask your wife. Because how many times I heard from guys, I'm doing this for my wife, for my kids, for my communities. And then at 50 and 60, I ask them a very easy, very simple question. If you're doing it for your wife and kids, how come your wife and your kids and your community haven't seen you in 20 years? Put the time you actually spent. Put the time you actually spent on a paper. Quantify it. How much time, if you added all the minutes and all the times you spent with your kids over the last year, with your wife, how much does it come out to? And if right now was your last moment in life, what would they know about you? What would you know about life? What would they know about connection? What would they know about how important the father-son connection is? You know what opened my eyes up to this? My second year here, Rabbi Kravitsky took right now, right around this way, he went away, and right before he went, he says, "Listen, there's a wake that I was supposed to perform in our shul. I'm going away. You take over." I said, "Okay, no problem." It was a father who passed away. God forbid, Aleinu. The son, the son was 23 years old. The daughter was 21 years old. I don't know where the mother was. I didn't know who. I never heard of these brothers. They came to me. I said, okay. I was supposed to deliver a talk in between after Ma'ariv in his honor. I never met the person. So I pulled the kids aside. I said, I just need to. I'm going to speak about your father. I just need to know what was important for him. The children look at each other like dumbfounded. There's silence. I was like, no. What I mean was like, just give me some highlights of things that he spoke about, that he stood for, that, that he taught you that are important in life. Tell me, I can speak. I want to bring that out. And there was complete silence. After, literally, I remember this hit me like a punch in the, because I was on the same trajectory. After 30 seconds thinking, the son says, my father was a good salesman. I said, what do you mean? It's like, look, he was always working. He was always on the phone. He was always traveling. And we know, based on our lifestyle, that he was a great salesman. And I think that the guy was 66 years old. And all he left behind was that he was a good salesman. And you think to yourself, you put your number, when we look at our phones and it's like, we immediately charge it up. When you look at life elapsing, 5 years just went like that since we last sat together.
Oh, wow.
Literally. Right? You think how quick it goes by before you notice your little babies are going to be their same age. You go from the children who run away from the table when the adults are speaking to your children running away from your table while you're sitting. Very quick, so it goes so quickly. What do you know about how much you love them? Not like I love you so much, but I'm sorry, I have a cold right now, so I'm sorry. I mean, really, what do they know about life from you? And and here's the gut wrencher. What's stopping you from being their father? If your kids are crying tomorrow morning, as you're constantly saying over and over, they're crying for you. They need you. They want you. They want a father. They want a role model. That could be even worse. And he's a
wake up tomorrow.
He's a holy Jew. But you see, we don't have to break the bank. When the Rebbe says the Mashiach is here, and we have to open up our eyes, which means
the bank breaks up.
In this current condition right now, what's stopping you from living your life truly? I mean, do you think about we think we have problems. Our grandparents had problems. They had no air conditioning. They had no. We have no problems. We have all the solutions, but we have muscle memory of how our father did it, how his father did it, and to go against that muscle memory, even though the maze has been removed, we are still walking the same path as though there's the same blinder, the same maze. And that's what the Rebbe says, Mashiach is here. Open up your eyes. You don't have to follow the same trajectory. And I can tell you, I was going the same exact trajectory with my kids when I realized I don't have to follow
one question from the back, over there.
Follow the same path, yeah.
Go ahead.
Do my mafar now?
Oh, come on.
Thank you.
What success?
Now that the maze is, if you pull off the maze, when you see a different trajectory, what trajectory are we supposed to follow? What are we supposed to be doing that we're not?
How do you break it? How do you just go straight back?
First and foremost, on the most surface level, ask yourself, without blaming, without shaming, without resenting, without any of that. In other words, move all the personal biases aside, and whatever mental conditioning emotional condition. Ask yourself right now, as it stands in my life right now, which parts of my life are trying to get my attention?
Okay. First and foremost, look at the most external level.
Like a doctor first, before there's any scans or anything. First, let's look at the most external level, most superficial level. Which part right now, on a cyclical level, not from like out of nowhere, like acute. Acute is one thing, but we're much more worried about the cyclical. If it's repetitive, chronic. Where's your chronic pain in your life? Where is the cyclical that keeps on coming up over and over? You begin there. Because that chronic pain is God telling you, I need your attention to this particular segment of your life. Not that something's wrong. If something is wrong with you, I wouldn't ask you for this. It's because there's something so good about you that you have so much more to accomplish, and you think you've already accomplished and now you can move forward. It's because I believe in you so much that I'm trying to get your attention. I don't know how else to get your attention. So first and foremost, ask yourself, with an honesty, what part of my life is vying for me?
And let's say you identify them. You have top 5.
Okay, what's your first? What's your first?
Kids.
Okay.
Kids are always a problem.
Not problem. I could tell you, here in Great Neck, if you know me, I'll just a drop. If you know my kids, I grew up running parties in Limelight.
What's Limelight?
It was a club on 6th Avenue, 20th Street.
The one in the church?
Yeah. I was a promoter. I was a dancer there.
You've been there.
I was
in the past, right?
Yeah, I was a promoter and a dancer over there.
Chatati pashati.
No. I'm talking about I value that time because it brought me here.
Uses it for good.
I still, to this day, like after I come from here, I'm going to go home and dance for 20, 30 minutes. I'm my exercise for the day.
No.
Oh yeah, this is my exercise for the day.
Break dance?
Like, I'm not kidding.
It's the simple. It's really nice.
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
oh yeah.
You gotta move.
But I could tell you that
He does it in the morning.
no, it's important. You have to you listen. I'm 47 years old. I can't dance as much as I could before. My body doesn't move as fluid as when I was 17. But it's the same soul that's moving and animating my body is 47 and 17. And so you have to be alive. You can't just.
Right. What if you're not feeling? What if you're not? No, I'm serious.
If you're not feeling it, means
every
tap into
not every day. You can't be. Some days you have bad days. Some days.
No, bad days. Dude, 3 years ago, I kid you not.
You're not into it. You're doing the dancing, but you're not.
3 years ago. 3 years ago.
You're not doing
I was told by when I came.
No, you're doing
a schlepping, but you're not. You're not. You did the
somebody
dancing.
who's
Would make it
has an old mentality.
3 years ago, I came. According to the doctors, I came within an hour or two of losing my life. When I went to the hospital and they admitted me and they said, I pushed it, and said if you would have pushed it anymore, there wouldn't have been any more pushing. And it happened so quickly. And I was like, no, I have to go here, I have to do this, and I have this meeting, therefore I can't go to the doctor for that. I was feeling pain for about a week. I couldn't walk, I could urinate, I couldn't go to the bathroom. Towards the end, I was sweating, turning t-shirts and shirts and pants, and I was just like a ball of sweat. Towards like the last day, I was literally crawling on my hands and feet, but it was pouring, so I had to go and read Megillah. I had Megillah and go do this. Like, no, I have to go. I have no time for this right now. I was literally the last 3 days. I was like on 20 Tylenols and Advils at the same time, just trying to drown that pain out. I didn't realize I developed what's called a horseshoe abscess around my colon, and I went into sepsis, and I was 2 days into sepsis already. And they said if it was been if you would have waited, because I didn't even want to go. But the doctor said, like, listen, we can't do a digital exam on you, so we have to get a CAT scan. Let's go and get. I went there and said, they did this, like, listen, now, an operation. And you can't imagine how quickly it goes. You can't imagine. And I remember being, after the operation, the Friday night after the operation, sitting around the table, my family, my students around me, and I was thinking to myself, this could have been such a different Shabbat for them. Could have been, God forbid, it have been a Shabbat memorial for me. And you can't imagine, it goes so quickly. So quickly. All of us here, if you're over 30, 40, you remember yourself as 16, 15. The thing about men, we don't grow up past 12 to 16 in our brain. We know that. The body changes over time. But the reality is we all know how quickly it goes. And the question is, every moment is an entire lifetime. Every day is an entire lifetime. And if right now, Torah says, when you're born in the morning, when you woke up in the morning, it's like your birth. You go to sleep, it's like the end of life. So right now, we're literally about 95 years old, as far as this day is concerned. If right now, if this was your last moment, who would know in your life what you meant, what your life meant? Who would know in your life that how much you love them and how important they are to you? It comes a question, when all is said and done and all the stresses and all the issues, if right now you knew, and I'm telling you because I sat with people in the last moments of life when they took their last breaths of life. I've seen people who lost their significant loved one after 50, 60 years. And I could only tell you one thing. No one ever told me, I wish I could have taken another meeting. I wish I could have closed this deal. The people who I've seen, and I'm talking about people who built the World Trade Center, or the Brooklyn Bridge, and
Massive wealth.
not wealth. No.
What did they say?
Prominent.
There's. They don't care.
Steve Jobs even.
They didn't care. They didn't care. They didn't care about.
That's fake.
They didn't care about the medical standards. None of that mattered to them. I've seen those people spit on what the doctor says about what life is. They smoke through this, but the one regret they had, the one regret they always had, I wish I could have just, as a child, held my children earlier on, so we could have had this relationship in my senior citizen life, and they wouldn't move away from me. I wish I would have told my spouse how much I loved her when I could. I wish I would have came home earlier and been with my wife.
But have you ever sat with a poor person?
Many
And
times.
the poor person there said, I wish I would have had more money to treat my family to what they wanted, to give my parents.
I know plenty of them. Plenty. I grew up with nothing. Plenty. I know plenty.
Your father, let's say, you said you grew up with nothing. He would have never.
My father passed
Your
away.
father alive?
My father passed away while I was holding his hand, and I could tell you the first and last conversation I had with him, because my father and I butted heads since I was the oldest, and he had his trauma. I didn't know about it, and today, know what I know today. I didn't realize how much he just needed to be told that he's loved, that I care about him. Instead, I literally wasted years butting heads with him, and for nothing. And I remember the first and last conversation we had was on his deathbed, before he went into his coma. And he opened up and told me about his traumas, his childhood traumas, and all the pain and everything, and how everything he tried to enforce on me was enforced on him, and he was crying like a baby. And what was the point of all that? And he's like, that was a waste. Because all of our relationship there was no relationship. And you see, you hustle and bustle every morning. You like hustle. You just hustle the streets and this and that. At the end of the day, for what? For whom? Who's going to remind you? Who's going to remind you? One day you're going to be one day. Unless Mashiach comes, my brother once told me something 20 years ago, and it's so painful, but it's like a constant reminder. If God forbid, but we're here, Mashiach, this is all theoretical right now, literally hypothetical, because Mashiach is here. But God forbid Mashiach doesn't come, in 60, 70 years, you're going to be a picture of someone's wall. That's it. That's all you're going to be in an album. That's all you're going to be. Every one of us here. God forbid. Whatever it is. But do they know who you are? What you live for? Your ups and your downs. In other words, my entire life was what? I signed on the back on the bottom right side of the check. That was it. That was it. All my ups and downs, all my everything I learned, everything that I've went through.
Building the future.
Building a future is that money. Money is very important, in as much as the body is very important, even higher than the soul. But building a future is when your children know where they came from. Who are they? What do you stand for? When they had a good example of a role model, of a healthy male, of a strong, who knows how to be humble, who knows how to be ambitious, who knows how to be a go-getter, and at the same time be present in their moment, in their life. Money is very important. Don't get me wrong. Wealth is very, very important to facilitate your life. Right.
We have a coin. David. Yeah, you ready?